bunch of my friends have gone to live recently. I mean,
Yeah.
Brendan Steele is one of my closest friends in the entire world. He was in my wedding, play every Tuesday together, every dinner on the road. Our families are friends, and then overnight he's gone.
Yeah.
And and the other guy I used to play a lot of golf with out here and hang with was Cameron Tringali, and he's gone.
Yeah.
So they're on the same team. So it's certainly been strange in that aspect because, all of a sudden overnight I look around, I'm one of the older guys out here, and the younger guys have their own crew and their own what they do, and it's been strange, especially with Steely gone. It's like really been strange these last month or so.
I guess it's only been a few weeks at this
Yeah,
point, right?
yeah.
But that's already a hole that you're feeling. Were you tempted to go play for Liv? Was that ever like a close reality for you in any way?
I have a much different view than a lot of guys. I don't have any hard feelings to the guys that went, and I'm happy for the guys that went and got a ton of money. I mean, that's what we're doing out here, you know. But for me, like I want to win the Players this tournament here. I want to win Bay Hill Memorial, and like to not be able to play in the majors, not because they wouldn't be allowed to, but you wouldn't have the world ranking.
Yeah.
Like they can play as much as they want, but
it's a harder road.
It's a harder road, and the thought of not being in those tournaments is brutal. I mean, to be honest with you, I think that the setup of how they do it with the teams and the way they're all playing, I think it's brilliant. I loved the concept. I thought it was smart, but I ultimately I really want to. Playing in the U.S. Open at Brookline, really, I can't miss this. This is too big. Yeah. This is too important to me.
Ryder Cup this year, you're in a good spot right now. How much is that on your mind kind of day to day and week to week?
I would say it's on my mind almost every second. I was sitting around last night on my couch, and I was thinking, man, you could really make this team.
Yeah.
This is a reality. You could have dreams of making the team, or the past teams that I missed by a lot. I wanted to play on those teams, but it wasn't. This one I feel like I legitimately would have a great chance of just qualifying. Forget about getting a spot. I'd like to qualify.
Yeah.
And Zach, I've been on teams with Zach.
Right.
And I would love to play for Zach. And I'm 36. I don't know how many more. I mean, I'd love to play in 5 more Ryder Cups, but I realize this one's gonna be. This is the one. I really want to play. I want to play with these group of guys. These guys are tough, young, hard players. They're gonna be tough to beat.
How instrumental or how involved have you wanted to be as the PGA Tour is then kind of reshaping itself over the course of the last 12 months?
I haven't been involved at all, to be honest. I haven't been asked to be in any of the meetings or these secret player meetings and all that. I'm sort of been on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
The only way to change that is to play really good golf, which I feel like I've done. So it kind of motivated me a little bit, as I felt a little bit disrespected a little bit. I felt like I would have liked to have been in these meetings and heard what was going on, because I think it was an advantage to know sort of how the tour was going. And but I feel grateful to have the sort of the fate of the tour, I guess, in the hands of Rory and these guys, because they're smart and good guys and great players and have a lot of trust in them. And it's just crazy that all the changes that have happened just in my 13 years on the tour.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what feels different now than when you first got out here? Can you even identify how the vibe is different on tour?
Well, I think it's much harder to stay out here.
Yeah.
I remember my first couple years on tour, there was a big group of older players, sort of 45 and older.
Yep.
In they were good and they were tough, and that whole age group is sort of gone now, and it's been replaced by really young players that are totally ready to play and win and be on Ryder Cup teams and win majors. And I feel like that's been a big shift, and you need to be so good. I've noticed a big jump in in competitiveness on the tour since my first year. I think the players are so good, and top to bottom they're incredible.
Well, now it feels like that's only getting more that way. I guess it's going to be even more difficult to keep your card and keep your status, and now to get into this elite crew of top 50 players that will play all of these elevated events, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a time to be on the tour. It's quite a time to be on the tour and be a good player too. I mean, that's playing for a lot of money. It's a lot at stake every week. Yeah. Like this whole start of the year since Maui, it seems like every tournament is huge.
Yeah.
Like there's no weeks. Like every week is a big purse. Every week's got millions of FedEx Cup points, and world ranking points, and it just seems like the tour is magnified now, and the pressure is more, and there's more at stake, and that's great.
It seems like you would be a guy that would really feed off of that.
Yeah, I love it. I was telling somebody on the other day, like it's so one of the perks of playing well is being in these featured pairings to start Thursday, Friday, because I feel like you're clicked in right away, and it's you always see those guys. They're the best players. But you always see those guys at the top of the leaderboard because I feel like you're ready. You're like, okay, cameras are on, crowds are there, and it's one of the perks of playing well is you're in these better tee times and better waves, and it's just great.
You mentioned that, you noticed not being, invited to that Delaware meeting and stuff. Have you always been someone that sort of looked to little perceived slights for motivation?
Yeah, I mean, I think us growing up in New England, I always feel like I'm getting overlooked. So I'm sure I worked that up in my head a little bit, but it really helped me, honestly. I'd hear he was in that meeting, and I'd be like, okay, and it really motivated me that off season to really work hard. I lost a ton of weight, changed my diet, and I wanted to come out and be one of the best players in the world. And the beautiful part about the PGA Tour is if you play well, you're going to get rewarded. It's not like if you're on a team and your coach doesn't play you,
right?
Your destiny is in your own hands. Like everybody's going to have a chance this week that's in the field in 4 days to win the tournament. If you play better than the other person, you're going to win. And I love that about the tour, and it's all in my hands. And I have a lot of people that count on me in terms of my caddy, my family, and you can't take that lightly.
You've mentioned having all this anxious energy like before you throw out the first pitch at Fenway. How do you channel that same energy and being that way in general, being a professional golfer?
Well, I'm an anxious person every day of my life at every second. So, playing golf is hard for me. I don't go out and play easy rounds. Like, it's hard for me to go out there and hit every shot. Like, it's hard to know that I got to play this course and hit 4 shots on 17, 4 shots off of the 18th tee. Like, this doesn't come easy to me, and it's a lot of work to manage the stress and what I got to do out and to get ready to play. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do it is to try to be prepared. And last week, I was telling my coach, I know I had a good week, but every shot I hit was difficult. It was one of those weeks where even just like a straightforward little pitch, like I had stress over it. And some weeks it's not like that, but for me, that whole week was difficult. And that's when I have a good finish, it almost feels better than if you finish second or third, because it's like, man, I really made a lot out of that, because it just felt difficult the whole time.
You're at a really interesting spot in your career right now. I mean, literally yesterday you just played a great round. I think sneak into the top 10 at Bay Hill. But your early success came so quickly once you were on the PGA Tour. You won the PGA. You won in Texas. Like, you were on the Ryder Cup teams. You were playing with Phil Mickelson. And then, you never played bad by any means, but it just seemed like reality set in a little bit more of you were not on the Ryder Cup team. And here you are back. You're in the top 20 in the world again. You're a PGA Tour winner. Like, how do you reflect on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, It's hard to explain. I mean, everybody's going to go through ebbs and flows in their career.
Yeah.
I remember Ernie Els telling me one time, I was flying home with him, and he said, you're always going to go, it's going to be like a wave in your career. He said, I had this huge dip in my prime, and, I was freaking out and blah, 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 but don't, and just enjoy it. And I said to him, well, what was your dip? He goes, I went from number 1 in the world to 8th in the world. I go, dude, that's not that big of a dip.
I guess technically it's down, but yeah.
I mean, I felt like I had a year or two in there that wasn't up to my standards, but I've always been in the BMW. I felt like I've been pretty consistent. Taking the belly putter away really affected me, and I think it would affect anybody, So that was something that I've had to navigate. Sometimes I let my brain slip into they never banned it and how that works out, but I'm proud of the way that I've come back from it. But it was a bit of an issue for a while.
Yeah, where does your brain go at that point? What is the alternate reality for Keegan Bradley with the belly putter?
Well,
I mean, this is your dream, so
this
it can
is my
be anything.
dream. Well, first I would have a few words for the boys over at the USGA. That'd be my first thing I'd do. And second, I mean, the way I explain it to everybody is like, let's say one of the best things you do is my putting. Let's just say with the belly putter.
Yep.
So they take that away. So now I've lost thousands of hours of practice. Not only have I lost them, I've given them up to Justin Thomas and the best players in the world.
Right.
I've also lost, okay, when I feel a little nervous, this is the feel I'm going to have. Or on left to right putts, I feel like my tendency is to pull them or whatever. So I've lost all those feels. Now I have to go all the way back, get these hours back, and get these feels back, and learn how to putt again, honestly. Yeah. And if I took away, let's say John Rahm's best thing he does is drive the ball. He does everything great, but I'm going to take that away. So you got to start from scratch there. Again, like, it'd be tough for anybody. And I think that I sort of thought I would just be able to just bounce, like it wouldn't affect me at all. And it did, and luckily I've gotten back to a point where I feel like I'm putting actually a little better than I did, and I'm proud of that.
Well, Keegan, this has been really, really fun for me. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do it again, especially once you make it on that Ryder Cup team.
That's right. Thanks, brother.